It's currently 5:30 a.m. and I have book club tonight. And do I have my book club pick finished? Absolutely not. In fact, I haven't even started it. So naturally, instead of accepting defeat like a normal person, I've decided that I can read this entire book before book club starts, which is approximately 14 hours from now. Let's see if I can pull this off. I'm sitting in the cutest little coffee shop and I am making progress. I woke up at 5:30. I honestly decided very last minute that I was even going to attempt to read this book because book club snuck up on me again. Funny how even though it's scheduled for the same night of every month, I still feel like it sneaks up on me. And you've already seen the book, I'm sure, in some of the B-roll that came before this clip. But it is Anita Damonte Laughs Last, and I'm intrigued by this book because I ended up getting it at like a book swap party that my book club does every year. And a friend who read this book, she described it so hilariously and said that she still didn't know what to think about it after she read it. So I was intrigued, but I think the longer that it sat on my shelf, the less I've wanted to pick it up. But I am happy that I'm finally picking this up because this is actually about a Puerto Rican artist, and I'm Puerto Rican, and I've been wanting to read more books with characters of Latin descent and just people that share a similar culture to me. I feel like I could do a better job at that. So I started it this morning. I listened to it on the car ride here. The closest coffee shop that I really like the way that they make their matcha, which is Summit Coffee Shop in North Carolina. If you're in North Carolina, go try their matcha. It's so good. The closest one that opened at 6 a.m. was about 15 minutes away, so I woke up at 5:30 to head over here right when it opened. I mean, I made some progress. I'm on page 53. Book club is tonight at 7 p.m. and there's 337 pages. So we're gonna see if I can finish this for sure. I would love to finish it. I've got the audio. I've got some hours in, so I have been trying to listen to that and also just reading it physically. I can always read it faster physically, but because I am not only a mom of 2 kids, I also am a working mom. Even though I do work from home, I have a lot of things that I need to get done. I figured it'd be good to use my Spotify hours. That way I can do it while I work, and then if later in between playing with my kids, if I cook or something, or if I clean, then I can pop this on and listen to it. It'd be fun because I feel like it's a challenge to see if I can read it and see if I woke up at 5:30 in like 13 and a half hours before book club. So I feel like it'd be totally doable if I had nothing to do and I could just sit on my bed by myself or sit on the couch by myself, but that's just not the case. So we're gonna see how much of this that I can finish. I probably will stay at the coffee shop for like another 45 minutes. I want to be home by 8 because that's around the time the kids wake up, and obviously my husband's home, but I like us to have like family time in the morning before he goes to work, all of us together. So I'm gonna see how much I can get done in another 45 minutes. I also wanted to say I got the cutest like real estate at this coffee shop here. It is so cute. I got the front like corner window that juts out onto the patio, and I'm always so excited when I get this spot because it's just, I feel like it's just peak reading in a coffee shop vibes. Okay, so I'm back home. It is about 9:30, actually exactly. And I got back home at 8 a.m. because my boss wanted to move a meeting up. So I've been in a meeting with her for the past little bit. I just got off, but I wanted to give you guys a quick update on where I'm at in Anita Damonte Laughs Last. I'm currently on page 90, and I feel like it's a good time to tell you guys what the book is actually about. This book is really a social commentary on the time that these 2 artists are in. We have Anita, who's back in 1985, and we have the Puerto Rican artist. She's in 1998, and they're both navigating the art world, which is very much a boys' club. And not only is it a boys' club, but it's also predominantly white. So for Anita Damonte, we are seeing her marriage to a man who is already very celebrated. I believe he does art and architecture, I want to say, so far. But we're kind of seeing her feel very suppressed. She met
met him, and she was this very fiery Cuban artist who was presenting in a show, and he came in. He right now is this presence that kind of represents how suppressed she feels in the life that she is. In order to be with him, she felt pressured to say no to a fellowship, and now she is really regretting that decision because all of their life is about him. It's about his career, and anytime they're out and about, it's always about him, and she is just really starting to feel very aggravated, a little bit bitter about it for good cause. And from the end of the first very short chapter, we know that it's going to end in her death, that she either jumped or fell out of a window, but we don't know if her husband had something to do with it, if someone else had something to do with it, if it came from her, if it was an accident. And then we're also getting this timeline in 1998 of Raquel, who is being mentored by a white male in her Ivy League college for art. And she is kind of finding herself, making herself smaller to be able to be palatable to this mentor that is, again, somebody that's very prestigious in the college that she's in. And her friend has even remarked that why is she going along with doing the things he wants her to do when that's not what she wants to do? And there's a lot of passive aggressive comments in both timelines made by men who are really putting these female artists' work down, and honestly female artists in general down. And this book is basically a social commentary about what it's like to be a woman in essentially a man's world, and to be a minority at that, and all of the things that they're struggling with, and also the perspective of these Latin artists, which Latin women, I guess stereotypically, but honestly this is very true culturally, are generally louder, and they say their opinions, and they live very passionately, and now they're both kind of thrust into these environments where they have to bottle themselves up to be what these people around them want them to be. And with Anita specifically, she talks about how her husband just wants like this little Latin exotic handbag on his arm. That's what he wants her to be, and that's not what she is. And because she's kind of become that, now she's at a point where she's pushing back because she does not want to be that. So I do like that part of the story, and I found that interesting. We have had a perspective in Anita's husband's mind, and it's not a place that I want to be in. He very much is an unreliable narrator, I guess, as all of them are. That chapter was just very icky to me. Like, he very much is trying to justify that he's never wanted her to stop her art, and he's mad that she never wants to show him her art anymore. And really, it's just a man that's threatened by her, and he doesn't even realize or recognize his own privilege, his own prejudices. He just thinks he's very justified in everything that he thinks. And right now I'm intrigued. I would say I'm almost more intrigued by Anita's story. I want to know, since we've been teased how her life ends, I want to know where we're going to go from here. And we've already seen that Raquel in her timeline is basing her study off of Anita's husband. So obviously this is in the future, but her husband Jack, about his life and his art. But she's doing that because she knows that her mentor really respects this other male artist. And so it's really interesting to see the parallels and where like the timelines are going. We're obviously on a time crunch, and right now I need to go coordinate my daughter getting to dance camp. A friend is coming to go pick her up, and I also try to spend the time that she's at dance camp to do something special with my son, just us one-on-one. So I don't know how much reading I'm gonna get done during that period of time. I would love to. Hopefully he wants to go somewhere like a park or something like that where he can play and I can get a little bit of reading done, but I don't know if that's realistic, and that's just the life of being a mom, as I'm sure you can hear my kids in the background right now. But I will check in with you guys as to how that's going to be done. I did officially run out of Spotify hours on my way as soon as I got in the car to come home from the coffee shop. So now I'm gonna see if I can get it from my library or Hoopla, or if I need to use an Audible credit, because I really do think the only way this is gonna get done with like a full day of work and being a mom and trying to be present is if we get that audiobook. So I'm gonna see what's available there. It looks like on Hoopla it's only available as like an ebook, so that's not really gonna be helpful. And I'm gonna check on Audible and see what my credits are. Oh, you know what? I don't even need to use a credit because it's $1.74 on Audible. That's a member price that I have right now. That is like a no-brainer, so I'm just gonna go ahead and buy it for $1.74. Why not, you know? And then at least that way I can get some listening done in the car or something like that.
Quick time update. It is currently 2:30 and I'm on page 158. So we're a little less than halfway through. I'm starting to get a little bit worried, I'm not gonna lie. But gotta keep the faith so that we can finish this. I will say I do feel like it's keeping my attention. There's not many characters that I really like. I want to say, like, there might be a side character or two, like a friend or two of each female main character that I do really like, but it's one of those books that you can so clearly see the mistakes that our characters are making and where it could land them in the future because of them. Like, obviously, we already know Anita from the beginning of the book has passed away, and we see some of the choices that got her to where she ended up, just like choices that weren't the best for her. And then we're starting to see Raquel potentially mirror that. We're seeing her date somebody who is changing her, and it's interesting how we as women can justify things that we start to change about ourselves to make other people happy. And we've seen it with Anita, and how from the very beginning she's already realizing all the things that she compromised, and she is regretting it and just changing, trying to make different decisions because of that, obviously before the end of her life. But then we have Raquel, who's still kind of struggling with that, and it's interesting to see these really strong women. Like, we can see that they're very strong women, they were raised to be very strong women, and we still see them making those mistakes. And isn't that true? I feel like that's just something that a lot of women, including myself, struggle with. We're getting more and more of Anita's story, a closer look into her life, and I think I said that before. And the same with Raquel. We're kind of seeing her in real time and seeing her relationship with Nick and just kind of wondering where it's going to go. So far, there hasn't really been a crossover other than Raquel knowing that her mentor and a lot of people are fascinated with Jack, who is Anita's husband, but we haven't really seen Anita mentioned so far in the present timeline, so I'm kind of interested to see how that ties together. But the one thing I did want to share that I felt like I connected with a little bit is on page 147, and Anita's talking about how when she goes home to Cuba, she is expecting to just feel like it kind of like solved her issues. She's feeling lonely, she wants to feel like she's in her culture again, and when she goes there, she's like, it's not really solving everything for me. I just wanted to read this quote really quick that I think really relates to, she's talking specifically about Cuba, but I think it relates to any Hispanic culture or even just any culture when you are away from it for a long time and you go back to your home country and you're in it. She says, if you know Cuba, you won't need me to tell you how America makes you feel so Cuban you bleed cafecitos and rum. And then you get back home and you discover you might as well be an apple effing pie for how American you've become. And that is so interesting because I've talked before with some of my friends who are also Hispanic about just feeling like there are certain things that make you feel very alien when you are not with people who are in your culture, and yet when you go back to your home country, when you've spent a lot of time in America and you're surrounded by people in your culture, then they can't help but commenting how American you've become, or how almost alien you start to feel even amongst people that are supposed to be your people, for lack of a better word. And so I feel like that just really, I felt like I connected with that. And I think a lot of people who are in similar situations might. And she just goes on to say that amongst noticing how American the Americans were that she was around, and she says, all this time thumping my chest about my Cubanness, only to discover that I had not been impervious to 25 years of America. None of us have. And so it's really interesting because it's one of those things where it's such a complex feeling where you have this love for this country that you live in, and you also have this love for the country that you're from, and just kind of like reconciling both of those and kind of feeling like you never 100% belong where you are or where you're from because you've experienced both cultures. And that is one reason why I've really been wanting to read for more Latin authors, because I feel like there are just some things that you can't understand until you're part of a certain culture. And like when you hear other people from your culture say certain things or from a similar culture to yours, you can just feel so seen, if that makes sense. So I don't know, I do really like that side of things. I am finding it really interesting. I am not loving that we're having like multiple chapters in the perspective of Jack, because I feel like
even though I feel like I kind of see where we're going and how he's being like haunted by Anita, and that's exactly what Anita wanted. And so it's really interesting. I'm intrigued to see where it keeps going, and like I said, I'm ready to see where the overlap is going to be, where Raquel is introduced to Anita. So we will see. I'm just going to keep reading. My thought process is it's a really nice day, and if I do want some uninterrupted reading time, and then I can either listen while I watch them, or I can read it physically, and then we could get some reading done. So that is an option to do. But also my kids are playing so well together right now that I probably could maybe get like a solid 40 minutes of reading on the couch at least. I feel like as my kids are getting older, I'm able to carve out more time to read. Definitely when my kids were younger, like my youngest is almost 5 years old, and he's a very good solo player, and the two of them together, obviously they fight like all kids fight, like all siblings can fight, but when they get into a groove, they can be there for like 2 hours just playing, and I'm able to like get things done. So if it keeps going well like it is, then I will be able to sit down and get more reading done. But if not, then we'll just switch and like pivot, and I'll take them down to the pool or something so that I can get some more reading done. But like I said, it's about 2:30. It's probably about 2:40 right now, and I will need to leave here maybe like around 6:30, and I'll need to carve out just a little bit of time to get ready. And I also need to print the book club stickers for tonight, because I've been making stickers for my book club so that every time someone reads a book, they get to put a sticker to put on their bookmark. And so at the end of the year, they'll be able to have this like acrylic bookmark with all these cute stickers as almost like a little memento of all the reading we did for book club. So I need to do that. I don't think that will take me very long at all. But yeah, that's my thought process, and I can do that while I listen too. But yeah, I do have like 180-ish pages that I need to read. I think it's doable. I just think it might be close. I just sat in my bed to read for a second, and you guys, the gall of this man. I can't even believe I was on the fence a second ago. But let me just read to you what just happened. And it's little things like this that I'm like, how are you not seeing the signs that he's controlling? Or like, how are you not listening to your gut? But it's Raquel, and so obviously she's dating Nick, and it seems like he's kind of following the same pattern of Jack with wanting her to fit a mold like Jack wanted Anita to fit a mold. So they're sitting down to dinner, and he goes and starts ordering for them, and he's like, oh, I'll have the burger, and she'll have a chicken Caesar salad. And she's like, actually, I'll also have a burger because I haven't eaten lunch. I'm freaking starving. And he interrupts her and says, you can just have a bite of mine. And then says to the waitress, she'll just have a bite of mine. The waitress hovered for a second, looking at Raquel for confirmation, and Raquel found herself unable to speak, hot with shock and shame. She sipped her champagne. Thanks, Nick said to the waitress with finality. When she was out of earshot, Raquel leaned in toward him. What the heck was that? She asked. What? We'll share, he said, putting his hand over hers. That was embarrassing, she said, pulling it away. I can pick what I want to eat. And he just like continues to gaslight her and is like, well, you always get the salad. You'll be happy that you had the salad later. And she's like, why would I be happy I had the salad later? And he's like, well, don't make me into that guy. I'm just trying to help you. You were asking me earlier if I thought you looked good, and so I don't want you to regret something later. And he just ends up being like, oh, well, you know how beautiful I think you are. And she just like takes that, and she's like, oh, you know what? He's a little clumsy, but he is well-intentioning. And I'm like, no, he's not well-intentioned. Why are we doing this? Like, oh, that's just like the start of it, because then she's kind of realizing now that she's catering his entire life to him and prioritizing him over everything. And I'm just like, I hope that you don't continue to let him do this and continue to just say, oh, like he just this. Like, whenever you find yourself having to make continuous excuses for your partner, that's a red flag. That's a red flag. And that is what she's doing right now. So I'm just ready for this to move on. Like, I am done reading about Jack. I'm done reading about the relationship that Raquel is having too, which hopefully this isn't confusing with me just explaining, since there's two different couples we're talking about here, but basically just the men are terrible. The men are terrible that our female protagonists are with right now. And it's just crazy. Anyways, I'm going to get back to reading. I totally just said I was going to read, and then I doom scrolled for 40 minutes. So now we're here down at the pool and hoping that this will help me as I'm like watching the kids and putting my phone down. There will be nothing else for me to do except lock in. I mean, I did read a good amount. Let's see what page I'm on. Okay, it's like 4:15 and I am on page 230. So I did read a little bit. Granted, I do need to leave in a little over 2 hours. Was it my best idea to come down to the pool when I need to lock in and also figure out dinner and also be ready to leave at a certain time. Probably not, but here we are. Checking in, we have 33 pages left and we have a little over an hour, but I also need to like pop a pizza in and get clean and get ready. So I think what we're gonna do is just pop on headphones and just power through it. Actual skin of my teeth, you guys, with 15 minutes left to spare. I have finished the book. I am so glad that I finished it. I was not sure if I was going to be able to pull it off, and I for sure thought that I was going to have to be listening to it on the way, which I'm actually picking up 2 friends on my way, so I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna not be able to listen to it in the car, but I finished it. I'm so happy I finished it. I think that my rating of this book is probably going to be higher than everybody else's. I feel like I've already heard that not a ton of people are loving the book, which totally fair. Everyone has very different reading tastes and everything. Maybe I'll just do like a half up. Normally I feel like when you've got a neckline that's higher, it looks a little better with your hair up, but my hair is not, cooperating right now, so. But anyways, I just think that because I'm the only one of like Hispanic descent, I probably connected with some of the things in this book a little bit more than maybe other people, and who knows, until I hear what everybody has to say, like maybe that's not true, and that's, maybe that's just me thinking that, but I did enjoy it, and I really thought I wasn't going to, and I think it does have to do with that piece of just feeling like maybe I could relate to it culturally, and I feel like I don't read enough by Latin authors, so maybe that's why I'm like, okay, I actually liked it. It surprises me just because obviously, like I said before, the characters were really, really frustrating me. I definitely feel like it did end up picking up in like the latter half of the book. I don't know what I'm doing right now, but in my mind, this was gonna be cute, and I don't know if it is. Anyways, in the latter half of the book, I do feel that it picked up, like I felt like I understood the journey we were going on and why the author did things the way that she did. I was really satisfied with the ending, like really satisfied with it. I thought it was really poetic. I did think that the element of, I almost want to say there's magical realism in it, because there is an aspect of us getting to hear from Anita. For most of the book, we're hearing her voice post-mortem, and there's just like different things happening that are a bit magical and a bit mystical, and so that was really interesting. I don't know that I was really expecting that. I felt like it just added to the raw desperation and the voice of Anita, who was just so angry and just so sad, and she felt so defeated but also refused to be defeated, and this was past the grave just because she felt like she had finally made the right decisions and then her life was cut short. She had a lot of anger, and I do think it really lent to the story that we could hear that anger post-mortem from her. Like I said, it was just told very interestingly. I don't know where I'm gonna land on it. Like, I think at least a solid 4-star read. I think that it was really, really interesting. It might even be like 4.25. I just know it's not going to be for everyone, but I do think that if you are interested or familiar with like Latin culture, Hispanic culture, I do think that you will probably connect to it. And I think it's always great to read from different authors and different perspectives and different cultures. We also have Black voices in here. We also get to hear from other marginalized communities, and just, again, a lot of social commentary on people who are working just as hard, if not harder, than certain communities, and they're getting half as much. And so it was really, really interesting, and I loved the almost victorious ending of Anita being remembered after a lifetime of basically being pushed down and beaten down. And so I was really satisfied with the ending, really excited to chat about it tonight at book club. But again, I don't have high hopes for like other people liking it. I'm glad that I pushed myself. If you guys enjoyed this video, let me know, because I'm just a major procrastinator and I almost always wait to at least like the last day, if not the day before, and start listening to it. And I'm proud that I read a lot of it with my eyeballs today and not just like trying to cram it at like 3.5 speed. I did not go over 2.25, so I'm really proud of myself for that. But yeah, that does bring us to the end of this video as I'm in my bathroom dropping things. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. This was so fun, and I am just like, can't even believe that I finished it. Like, I honestly thought this was gonna be something that I was gonna try to do, and at the end you'd see me fail and just, you know, bow out of the challenge. But so glad that I did it. So glad I pushed myself to read something I normally wouldn't read, and like a genre I wouldn't normally read. And yeah, I've got my stickers ready, I've got my acrylic bookmarks, and I've got my book, of course, and I am ready to head out the door and go grab my friends. So I will see you guys in my next video. If you have anything you want to see from me, or if you liked this video, let me know in the comments below, and always make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!